Have you recently gotten into NES collecting and you want to make sure that you don't spend a lot of money on games like these but not actually get the real deal? Well, then this is the video for you. Hi, my name is Matt and welcome to the tutorial level. So today we're going to be going over NES bootlegs slash reproduction carts. So sometimes they go by the name of reproduction carts. You can also call them bootlegs, you can also call them fakes, but you might see the word repro or reproduction cart come up a lot when finding really high ticket, high priced games. So looking at that little Samsung copy before, that can go for hundreds or thousands of dollars. Definitely out of my price range, but that one only cost $3. Why? Because it's fake. But you don't believe me? Well, let's actually look at the copy itself and also some other NES games in my collection. So first things first, the first thing you're going to notice before we talk about the quality of the label, we talk about the fact that the label is clearly peeling off. I did nothing to this thing. I didn't touch it with wet hands. I didn't pick at it or anything like that. It just is coming off. I didn't put it near really, like near the radiator or anything hot. It just started peeling off naturally. So that's that's your first clue that there might be something wrong. But let's say it isn't peeling off. Well, just looking at the quality of the label, yes, this is a rather expensive game. Not a lot of people bought this game. At least that is the word, the scuttlebutt going around about the game itself and why it is so rare. But something that should be noted though is that unless you know the collector personally and you know that they keep their games in really good condition and they have them either they have them sealed or they have them in box protectors or something like that, these games are probably going to be beat up. I mean, look at these other games. None of them are games that I had 30-40 years ago. I didn't have them initially growing up. I got them fairly recently over the last 5 years, but still they are very beaten up, and that's the norm, I would argue. Even when looking at some higher priced games, again, early on, people didn't know that these were going to be higher priced games. They didn't go into this thinking, oh, this is definitely one that's going to be worth, over $1,000 one day. Over time, some people try to point, the finger at certain games to see which ones might be rarer than others, but still, this is during the NES's time, you didn't really have that happening as much, so you're not going to have a pristine copy most likely. So that's the first clue right there. And turning this game around, you're going to notice a few things right off the bat. And sorry that I'm laughing so much, it's just that this is comically fake. It wasn't even trying to be legit. So you can see right here there's a blank spot. So on the retail cartridges, you can see that that's where the Nintendo logo is. So none of that is there. And also looking at these screws, both these screws and also how many there are, in retail games you're going to find that there are 3 or 5 screws. In this case, you can find that there are 2, and that they're actually Phillips head screwdrivers or screws and not actually game bit screws, usually referred to as game bit. You can get a game bit screwdriver for extremely cheap online, under $3. Would definitely recommend getting one, by the way. It's the only thing we're going to need today to open some of these up, if already you aren't convinced that this is clearly the fake here, that it's not sus, as the kids refer to it as. So clearly this is very suspicious. But yeah, either way, if you do want to open it up just to make sure, of course, in cases where it is not as obvious, then you definitely need a game bit screwdriver. Now, don't use this over the $5 or the $10 games. You're most likely not going to have those be faked, but when you find a game like this, again, at either a garage sale or some kind of swap meet or flea market, or even at a convention, anyone, if you ask them, hey, listen, can I open up this $100 game, they're going to say that it's okay, and if not, then maybe you end up moving on. And so when opening these up, you're going to notice that while the NES carts, the innards, can be a little bit different than some of the stuff that we've come to know on the SNES and the N64, you're going to notice that this is extremely fake on account of this blob over here. And even before we get to the blob, the fact that there are no Nintendo kind of branding, anything like that on the board itself. So that's the first clue, no Nintendo branding, and then this blob right here. So that is a staple in a lot of fake cartridges. So the blob is to mask the actual chip that the entire game is on. So that's not really how Nintendo operates, but in this case, that is how these companies end up masking the chip that the entire game is on. So it's a very cheap method, very effective method, and it's one that you're probably going to find a lot of. So at this point, you don't have to remove the glob, just know that the glob tells all. And it says that this game is definitely fake. So I hope you learned a lot from this video. If you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please ask them down below and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. Love you all, take care, and I'll see you on the next episode of the tutorial level. Alright everybody, so see ya!